He was a convicted killer, a man who took lives without mercy. But when he read the story of what he'd done, written by someone who sat across from him for years, he cried. He packed his bags, brought his childhood friend Harper Lee, the soon-to-be author of To Kill a Mockingbird, and headed straight to Kansas. Capote wasn't a crime reporter, he was a novelist, flamboyant, eccentric, a fish out of water in rural Kansas. But he was also persuasive. He gained access to police files, interviewed neighbors, slowly earned the town's trust, and then the killers were caught. Richard Dick Hickock and Perry Smith, two ex-convicts who'd heard rumors about a safe in the Clutter home. There was no safe, but they broke in anyway. What followed was cold-blooded, calculated, merciless. When Capote met them, they were in jail, awaiting trial. He wasn't just curious, he was captivated, especially by Perry. Capote saw something in him, something broken, artistic, intellectual, tragic. He began visiting Perry often, interviewing him, gaining his trust, offering him books, sketch pads, listening when no one else would. And Perry opened up. Perry Smith wasn't a typical criminal, abused as a child, raised in orphanages, beaten, starved, neglected. He had dreams of being a singer, a writer, a painter, but somewhere along the way, the dreams rotted into darkness. He developed a severe inferiority complex. He felt small, powerless, until he could make someone else feel smaller. Capote saw that. Dick Hickock, on the other hand, was the manipulator, the planner, charming on the surface but hollow inside. He convinced Perry to join him. It was Perry who pulled the trigger. But it was Dick who set it all in motion. Capote's interviews revealed not just what they did, but why. Not excuses, but roots, psychological roots. He exposed the cracks in the American dream, the darkness beneath clean-cut surfaces, the monsters made by poverty, trauma, and the systems that fail the most vulnerable. Capote spent 6 years writing in cold blood. He traveled back and forth, filled notebooks with interviews, observations, and internal monologues. He created a new genre, the non-fiction novel, a true story written with the depth and drama of fiction. But it came at a cost. He became deeply entangled, emotionally and ethically. He delayed publishing the book, waiting for the killer's final appeal to be denied, and for the execution to happen, because he wanted the ending. That decision haunted him. When the two men were finally executed by hanging in 1965, Capote was there. Perry reportedly wept. Capote left shattered. He had gotten his ending, but he had lost something too. Before his execution, Perry was allowed to read the manuscript, and when he reached the parts where Capote described his childhood, his dreams, his loneliness, he cried. He said, "That's the first time I felt like someone really saw me." The man who had pulled the trigger, who had silenced others forever, found himself speechless, not from guilt, but from being known. And Capote, for all his flaws, had given him that mirror. A mirror Perry could only face once. Then, he was gone. That moment, a killer crying over his own reflection, is one of the most haunting legacies of In Cold Blood. It wasn't sympathy, it wasn't redemption, it was truth. When In Cold Blood was released in 1966, it became an instant bestseller. Readers were gripped, not just by the horror, but by the humanity. Capote didn't portray Perry and Dick as monsters. He portrayed them as men who became monsters, a distinction that unsettled many. Critics accused Capote of manipulation. Some said he glamorized killers, others said he crossed ethical lines, but no one denied the power of his work. He forced readers to sit with discomfort, to see not just victims and villains, but systems, cycles, childhoods, emptiness. In Cold Blood changed true crime forever. It blurred the line between observer and participant, between justice and storytelling, between objectivity and obsession. And for Capote, it left a scar he never recovered from. After the book's release, Capote spiraled. He struggled with addiction, depression, writer's block. He never finished another novel. Many say In Cold Blood broke him, that he gave too much of himself, and took too much from others. He opened a door he couldn't close, but in that door, he showed us something rare, the full anatomy of a crime. Not just the body count, but the soul decay that leads to it, and the chilling realization that evil doesn't always scream. Sometimes, it speaks softly, in dreams, in journals, in tears. One killer cried, one writer never wrote again. 4 lives lost, one town changed forever. Some stories are too powerful to remain fiction, and some truths are too haunting to forget. If this story moved you, if it left you wondering how far a writer should go or how deep the human mind can fall, then don't scroll away. Subscribe for more true crime documentaries, real stories told with the weight they deserve, exploring not just the headlines, but the mind behind them. We go beyond the blood, into the books, the psychology, and the moments that changed everything.